Greetings, this is another reader. Welcome back to my channel. Now, there are many books in the world that I'm not going to read for a bunch of different reasons. Maybe I don't have enough time, or maybe I'm not interested, or maybe I haven't heard about a particular book. However, the 7 books I'm going to discuss today, I am avoiding deliberately. I've heard a lot about them. Everybody heard a lot about these books too. These books probably have many fans around the world, and if you like these books, good for you. However, I am not reading them. There's going to be a part 2 of books that I haven't read, but this time the books that I'm planning to read. The first book that on my list is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I remember very well when that book suddenly was so popular and the film came out and so on. And I was like, no. Of course, this doesn't mean I avoided John Green, not at all. I read An Evidence of Catherines and Paper Towns and Will Grayson, where John wrote with the guy whose last name I can't pronounce. This isn't my book, I took it from my cousin, and now I'm thinking whether I should give it back to him. I don't know. The Fault in Our Stars was way too mainstream for me, and not in a positive way. I will talk about mainstream books a little later. Now, first of all, I avoided it because I'm not a fan of romance novels. The second book on my list is the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins. I remember that back in 2010, when I was in bookstore in Moscow, I found the Hunger Games book. I read the annotation, thought it was interesting, I remembered it, but I didn't buy the book. 2 years later, the film hit the screens, so I watched that film in the cinema, and I liked the action. This is what I remember very well about the film, the action. Unfortunately, when I watched the film in the cinema, it had a horrendous Georgian dub, and it killed the whole interest in the franchise in me. This, and also the fact that I couldn't find the books at the time. And by the time the next installment, Catching Fire, came out, and the books also appeared, I lost interest. So, speaking of the mainstream books, that I generally prefer to stay away from books that got way too popular. Of course, there are a lot of mainstream books that I really love. I did not let the mainstream bias stand in front of me. However, The Fault in Our Stars and The Hunger Games was a complete pass for me. The third book on my list is 1,000 of Splendid Suns by Khalid Hosseini. Around 2015 or 16, I saw that one of my groupmates in university had a book by Khalid Hosseini, and it was The Kite Runner. I wanted to borrow that book from my groupmates, but I didn't. And around 3 or 4 years later, when I was on a book fair, I found that book in English, and I bought it. I read that book this year, and I was like, yeah, okay. And a few months ago, I gave it away. I read the summary of 1,000 of Splendid Suns, and I was like, no, not for me. I'm avoiding books by Khalid Hosseini because I just realized that he isn't my writer. Not for me. The fourth book on my list is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. Probably many of you know that this April TV show Shadow and Bone came out on Netflix. I watched the first 4 episodes, but I wasn't impressed that much. Granted, I liked the Casbreaker storyline, and I thought that the actor who played him was great in the role. However, this wasn't enough for me to get interested in the books. It wasn't even enough to continue the show. Notice that most of the books in this video I mentioned are young adult fiction. It's not that I am too old for young adult fiction. Not at all. It's not about that. I absolutely love Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. It's just something that drives me away Probably that's because the list of young adult fiction seems to be very predictable, or vanilla. Probably both. Either way, I avoided young adult fiction then, well, most of it, and I avoid young adult fiction now. Now, the book number 5 on my list is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. In 2017, I saw that book in the store and I considered buying it. It had a nice summary and I thought the cover was very good. However, other books got my attention and I forgot about Fangirl, and when I found that book today in the store, it's the same copy, it wasn't sold in 4 years. I realized that I'm not going to read it. No. One thing I want to point out, that one of the reasons I don't want to read Fangirl ever is that I have my own perception of how stories of fangirls should be written. In my opinion, that stories about fangirls should be inspiring, uplifting. But that's a topic for another video. Number 6 on my list is, oh my god, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. If you are a huge Harry Potter fan, be rejoiced that you have read the 7 books and watched 8 films. Deathly Hallows is a perfect ending. That's enough, at least for me. There's no need for more. Especially The Cursed Child. I even gave up on Fantastic Beasts, if you believe me. I watched the first 2 films, I liked the first one, didn't like the second, and I decided to give up. I'm not going to watch the 3rd Fantastic Beasts film. 7th and last book on my list that I'm not going to read. I just saw this book in literally every store, and that's Becoming by Michelle Obama. I saw it literally in every store. It was promoted as the international bestseller. It was translated in literally every language. It was translated into Russian, into Georgian, and many others. I saw it everywhere. No offense to those who read the book and liked it. It's just not for me. The reason I brought it up in the video because I thought that it was very popular. I'm just not interested. And end of story. And that's it for today's video. Here are all 7 books that I'm not going to read. What are your choices for books that you are not going to read? Write it down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more content and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. See you next time.